Good morning, everyone. It's 11 o'clock, so we'll start our town hall meeting. Welcome to you all. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. This is RPEA's first town hall meeting, but it's not going to be the last. We want to begin to do this to keep our members informed about what's going on with RPEA and to give you an opportunity to ask some questions as well. So just so you know, this meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on our website if you wanted to go back and look at it again, or for anybody who was not able to join us today. So we are joined today by our Executive Director, Ed Farrell, our staff members, Kathleen Liberty and Sharon Beauregard, and also some of our board members, Ed Brown, who chairs our Finance Committee, Roanne DeStito, who chairs our Membership Committee, and board members Joanne Kulak, Marcia Schumann, John Crotty, and Alan Dorn, and I see that Mary Fry, who's our Vice President, has joined as well. If I've left anybody out for our officers or board members, I apologize. I tried to get everyone. So just a couple of housekeeping items. We're not going to take verbal questions. If you have a question, either during a presentation or during our question and answer session, which will be at the last segment that we do, would you please put it in the chat? And if you're not familiar with that, if you look down at the bottom of your screen, there is an icon that says chat. If you open it up, it opens up a box. You can just put your cursor in the box. You can type your message. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner of the box, there's a little arrow, and you just hit that and it sends your question. Charisse Wells, who is from Corning Place Communications, our communications consultant, she's going to be monitoring the chat and asking the questions. So I see we've also been joined by a couple of other board members, Jean Majors. There was someone else, and I apologize because I've just missed you. So thank you for joining too. Our agenda today is a couple of topics that
Now I'll be able to hear.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You should.
Me. Would you please mute yourself? Again, if you look down at the bottom of your screen to the left, there's a little microphone. If you click on that, it mutes you so that we don't get any background noise while our speakers are making their presentations. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to have a presentation by our member benefits administrator, Candy Marrero, to talk to you about the really great benefits that we offer you as RPEA members. Then we're going to have a presentation from Ed Farrell, our executive director, with a legislative update to let you know how we're progressing on our bills that are important to you. Then we're going to have a presentation by our lobbyists, Kevin Cleary and Katie Holman, on how to advocate with your local legislators. There will be a PowerPoint presentation that goes along with that. And then finally, we'll wrap up with an opportunity for you to ask questions, again, in the chat. We're going to end promptly at noon because we don't want to hold you any longer than an hour. So with that, let's get started. And I just saw a couple of messages. Nassau lawsuit on healthcare. I'll ask Ed Farrell to address that in his presentation. And from Dan, the concern is keeping my private health insurance and not going to a single payer, so Ed can cover the New York Health Act, which would basically be a single payer bill. We'll add that to his presentation. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Candy Marrero. Raise your hand, Candy. Wave. There she is. Oh, and something else, by the way. If you want to look at just the speaker who's speaking and not everyone else on the screen, if you up at the top right hand, it's on my screen, right hand corner, it says view. If you click on that, one of the options is speaker. And if you click on speaker, then only the speaker appears on your screen. So it's up to you whether you want to watch everyone or whether you want to just watch the speaker. That's your choice, but that's how you do it. So Candy is our member benefits administrator. She knows everything there is to know about the insurance programs that we offer and the other benefits. So she's just going to give you an update on what those are and how you can participate in them if you would like to do that. So Candy, please.
Great. Thank you so much, Diana. Hello, everybody. As Diana said, I'm Candy Marrero. I handle the benefits, the dental and vision benefits that you get through your RPEA membership. And they're really great benefits. So I really like to talk about them so that everybody knows what you actually have available to you. Without your RPEA membership, you really wouldn't be able to get a good standalone dental or vision benefits. So these are really great benefits that are offered to you as a member of RPEA. So for many, many, many years, you've had something called GHI, which the new term or new name for GHI is called Emblem Dental. And that's still, kind of our best dental plan, in that the way that dental normally works, you usually, aside from preventative care, which is your cleanings, your x-rays, your exams, aside from that, you normally have an amount of money that you would actually have to lay out. It's usually 20%. So a normal dental benefit is you pay 80%, they pay 80%, you pay 20% for, most of your dental work, your cleaning or your fillings, extractions, root canals, oral surgery, all that falls under your regular dental that would be covered normally at 20%. But with Emblem Dental, through your RPA membership, they actually cover that at 100%. So when you start this dental program on day one, you get just about all of your dental benefits covered at 100%. through Emblem, the cost is significantly lower than pretty much every other dental plan on the market. It's under $23 a month for this dental plan through your RPEA membership. So it's just a wonderful benefit. And after 12 months on what they call the basic plan, you can upgrade to what they call the 50% plan. And the 50% would give you everything that you got under the basic plus 50% off of major services, which is crowns, bridge work, dentures, and implants. So that's the way that your Emblem Dental, which is, it used to be called GHI, that's the way that works. And the reason that we have another dental program is because in some states, not in our state, not in New York State, and not in all the states, but in a few states, like in the Carolinas, there's not a lot of dentists under Emblem Dental. So we instituted another program called MetLife Take Along Dental. And that is a plan that everyone can get through their membership as well. It doesn't give you exactly the same benefits. It gives you the same preventative, it gives you the same restorative that it covers. It's just you would have that 20% to pay, unlike the Emblem, which it would be free. You also have to wait 12 months to get the major under MetLife as well, but the cost of it is almost double the Emblem. So it's about $42 a month. There are 3 options under MetLife. So there is one that's a little bit less. There's 2 that's less actually, but they're much lesser benefits too. So if you guys have any questions on this, you can call me or email me anytime. All of my information is on the website, and I'm happy to, go over this in more detail with you. Also, just recently, I kind of changed the way I handle the RPEA. I'm handling it all myself. I used to have an assistant that I had assigned to RPEA, but I've taken all of this over myself. And I have a better handle on everything, which is why I'm doing it. But in addition, I actually process your applications myself now. So if you want to sign up for something that I handle through your benefits, you would contact me. We would do it right over the phone, and then I would email you a confirmation of you being signed up for those benefits. So it's a very simple process. You don't even have to fill out an application anymore. And then lastly, you also have two more things. Something called ABS Dental, which is another dental program that you have under your RPA membership. It's just a discount dental program that you can have by itself, or you can have it in addition to having the Emblem or the MetLife. What the ABS is it gives you a discount, and there's no annual maximum. So it's just a discount on all of your dental, which is kind of a great benefit. Some people have told me that when they've signed up for this, they actually have more benefits. They actually get more significantly savings on their particular benefits, because it's a discount program across the board and it doesn't have a limitation. So that's ABS Dental, and I think it's $129 a year. With your Emblem, there's a code that you have to put on, and you actually get 20% off of that. So it's another great benefit that you have through your membership. And then you also have vision through VSP. And not only does it give you, a great vision plan, but it also comes with a hearing aid benefit. It's $9.50 a month, and it will give you an annual eye exam. It will give you $200 off of frames. It will give you free lenses. And then it also gives you, a great plan for hearing aids. So those are a quick, overview of what we have to offer through your membership. And again, if you're interested in more information, or you're interested in signing up for anything, you can contact me and I will send you the information, or I will sign you up right online. Diana, you're muted. I see you talking, but you're muted.
Thank you. Sharice, are you with us? Are you monitoring the chat questions?
Yes, we're holding them till the end, or?
No, if it's a question for during a presentation. So for example, I see
Sure.
one for Candy, we can ask them at the end of each presentation.
Okay, Larry and Lucille are asking, is it $23 per month for single member or for family?
It's $23 for single. There is I don't remember the cost off the top of my head for 2-person or family, but I can get you that information. But it's $22 and change for a single.
Other questions for Candy about benefits? Candy, why don't you just give everybody your phone number in case they want to just write it down?
Sure. It's 518-326-3939. Again, I'll say it again in case you were writing. So 518-326-3939. And I know my information is also on your website, because people contact me all the time. So if you misplace it, you can go onto the RPEA website and you can find my contact information, as my email, my phone number, all of that.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Candy, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that wasn't me.
So these benefits are available only to RPEA members. We don't offer them to non-members. So if you know of anyone who need these benefits, who want them, who would feel that what we're offering at the cost that we're offering them is better than what they have now, they can join RPEA and they can take advantage of these really great benefits. Any other questions for Candy before we move on? And she just put her number in the chat as well. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to our legislative update, and someone else asked had a point to make about IRMA, so I'm sure Ed Farrell's going to cover that in his presentation. So Ed is our executive director, and he's going to give us our legislative update. And we're a little bit early, Ed, on your time slot, so take the time that you need.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. we're right in the middle of the state budget season. So I'll talk about initially the two budget issues and then the other issues that legislation-wise are important to you. The two budget issues affect people who are in NYSHIP, New York State Health Insurance Plan. One has to do with IRMA, which Diana just mentioned. It's a surcharge that goes on top of your Part B premium based upon your salary. If you hit a certain level, you get the surcharge. The governor had, and you get reimbursed in this following year. The governor had proposed eliminating IRMA. When we spoke at the budget hearing, we talked about that and said, you know, that needs to be restored. It had been proposed to be eliminated in prior years. The legislature has been favorable to our requests previously that it be restored, so we're optimistic. And the other had to do also with NYSHIP, funding for Medicare primary retirees in the Empire Plan who do not get benefits for skilled nursing facility care. Once you become 65, you become Medicare primary. Empire Plan pays zero in terms of benefits. You are eligible for the Medicare benefit, which is 20 days. And if you're not Medicare primary, if you're only 64 and in the Empire Plan, you're eligible for 120 days. You're aware of the legislature last session, it passed a bill to provide that service benefit. The governor vetoed it, saying there was no money. So she did not put money in her budget. We're asking the legislature to put money in their budget when they propose their one-house budget resolutions. And those come out next week. So we will have to wait and see, but we remain optimistic and we will continue to pursue those things. The other item which is important to everyone is the COLA bill, which has just been amended. Most important piece is it has a catch-up provision going back for all the years the COLA has been around, which is 23 years being paid. The statute says you get half the cost of living. So we went back and said, well, why don't we get the whole cost of living? And then there's a cap in there. It could never be higher than 3%. And it really helps older retirees, people who retired in the 90s, some in the 80s, where salaries were much lower. Their pensions are much lower, and they're the ones who really need the help. 24% of the retirees have a pension of $10,000 or less. Those are the folks who really need the help, and that's what our bill is aimed at. So it was amended just recently, came back with a better fiscal note than the previous one, because the controller's office initially assumed that anyone who got the COLA over those 23 years would be eligible for this catch-up provision, even if you were not alive. And that was not the intention, that you have to be alive and eligible to receive a COLA now to get the benefit. So it came down, but it's still expensive. But within the overall scheme of the state pension system, it's now $260 billion. So we are in very good shape. We're robust and we're doing just fine. I'll touch upon a couple of other things which are important, one of which Diana mentioned previously. It has to do with losing your benefits. We're seeing a trend where retirees who are on traditional Medicare and have a supplemental plan are being moved by their employer to a Medicare Advantage plan. And the biggest example of this is New York City. It affects 240,000 retirees and independents. And the city said, we're going to take you out of traditional Medicare. We're going to put you in this new specially designed Medicare Advantage plan, an employee group waiver plan, it's called. And it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. And coincidentally, we're going to save, we, the city, are going to save $600 million a year, but you're going to get the same benefits. So the retirees sued because there is a provision in the city administrative code that deals with their pension that protects them, and they won. city appealed, and the retirees won again. So it's still in the court system, but it's not good. But thankfully, they have that provision in their administrative code. And the mayor tried to change the administrative code. RPEA, I testified at the hearing, the city council hearing on amending the city administrative code. And we testified saying, don't do it. Leave it as it is. It's there for a purpose, to protect retirees. And the council defeated the mayor's provision to try and change the code. Because if they change the code, their likelihood of success, they being the retirees, would be diminished significantly. A similar thing happened just recently in Nassau County as it affects CSEA retirees. CSEA signed a contract saying, and they currently were in the Empire Plan, and they were going to move them to the Excelsior Plan, which is also administered by NYSHIP, but it has higher deductibles and lesser benefits for the enrollees, which was okay for the actives because they got raises and bonuses. And they said, all right, we'll take a little cut in the health insurance because we're getting these raises and bonuses. And so when they did it, they said, well, not only are all the actives going because they're in the bargaining unit, but all the retirees are going too, which was a shock because retirees were not part of the bargaining unit, had no clue this was coming, and it was just thrown out at them, announced. So the retirees got together and they sued. And right now there is a temporary restraining order regarding the transfer. So that is still pending in the courts in Nassau County. We wrote to the county executive and all members of the county legislature that said, it's okay if the actives, as part of their new contract, are taking this lesser benefit, but the retirees are not part of the bargaining unit. The contract doesn't affect us. You could leave us alone. We urge them to rescind it and just let the retirees stay in the Empire Plan. They have not responded. And as I said, there's a TRO in Nassau County. The issue was raised also about single payer. The New York Health Act, you're probably aware, has been around for, gosh, 20 years. Dick Gottfried from Manhattan, that was his pride bill. It actually passed the assembly a few times years ago, but it was dead on arrival because at that time, the Republicans controlled the Senate and they would never do it. It's around. The Democrats, as you know, control both houses, and we have vigorously opposed it because there's a provision in the bill that talks about a diminution of benefits for public sector retirees. That's us. And how could there be a section in the bill that talks about us getting lesser benefits if the whole concept of the bill is everyone's going to get better benefits? So it's a little scary. They said if we retirees get a lesser benefit, we would go back to where we used to get our benefits and they would make up the difference. The problem with that is the place where we used to get our benefits, be it either NYSHIP or some other local government plan, they'd all be put out of business. There would be no other insurance providers in the state of New York other than this program administered by the State Department of Health. So we were dead set against it. And you would not be eligible if you're an out-of-state retiree. Many out-of-state retirees are in NYSHIP. And they would be not covered at all because they're not residents. And NYSHIP would be put out of business. So they'd be on their own. So that's something we're working on. It's still out there, it's percolating, but it doesn't seem to have legs at this time. So we continue to protest against that. So I just point this out about this trend about moving people into a Medicare Advantage plan. So there are several things going on. There's legislation introduced at the federal level addressing this. It's two representatives from New York City, Representative Torres and Makatolas. Both, as I said, from the city. It's a bipartisan bill saying that you can't be moved out of a traditional Medicare plan and move into a Medicare Advantage plan without your consent, affirmative consent. So we wrote to Senator Schumer, Gillibrand, urging them to introduce the bill in the Senate because it currently is not active in the Senate. It's only a bill in the House. There's not much action on it. As you know, there's a lot of things going on in Washington, i.e. keeping the government open. But at least people are talking about it. So that's a good thing. And there's legislation here at the state level too, saying that you can't be moved into a program that has benefits that be less than you had, and it has a date in the bill of November 1st, 2022. So trying to freeze your benefits, saying if you go somewhere else, you cannot get less. And they're trying to put that into state law. Both sponsors are from the Hudson Valley area. So we're active in that, and it's a trend. The Power Authority did it a couple of years ago. Part of the MTA went in this direction for their retirees. Cortland County in upstate New York, down on the southern tier, they contemplated it. And the retirees got together and said, you know, this is not good. The problem, if you go to a Medicare Advantage plan, it usually means that it's managed care to a degree. Providers have to sign up to be in this plan. So if you have a doctor and your doctor does not take Medicare Advantage, you're in tough shape. If you are put into this plan involuntarily and your doctor does not participate, that's not good. So if you go to your doctor, you are out of network, which means your costs are going to be increased significantly. So these are all things that are on the radar, things we're aware of, and things that we're working on. So we'll know next week. The One House budget resolutions come out. We'll see where we stand vis-a-vis the NISHIP benefits. We'll continue to work on the COLA bill, even though it doesn't take effect till next year. It has to pass this session. So you've seen that in our newsletters. Anything you can do to move that along or talk to your legislators about it would be wonderful. I know Kevin and Katie are going to follow up after I'm finished and talk about ways to effectively talk to your legislators. So there's a wide variety of things I've touched upon. I'm sure there'll be questions, but I'll stop at this point. And I know Kevin's on deck, and we'll see where we're at. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. So before we do have some questions, and before Sharice asks them, I just wanted to mention that when Ed was talking about the COLA bill, he used the term fiscal note. So if you're not familiar with that, if you haven't worked in or around the legislature, what that is essentially is the legislature requires that any bill that has a financial implication, it's a budget bill, it's going to cost the state money, they require the Office of the State Controller to provide an estimate of how much the bill is going to cost the state, essentially the taxpayers. So that's what a fiscal note is. And we didn't have one last year for the COLA bill. As Ed mentioned, we do have one this year. So so when you hear fiscal note, that's what that means. Ed Brown, who chairs our finance committee and has been involved in, he used to work for the state controller, is involved in the COLA bill. Did you want to add anything in terms of the fiscal implications of the bill?
Well, no, other than like all retirement bills, this COLA affects almost 400,000 retirees. So it gives a pretty significant increase in the COLA. Not quite doubling, but close to that. So the cost runs, I think it's close to $600 million if you consider state and local employees and then police and fire. And then there would be additional costs for retired teachers and retired New York City employees that aren't included in this fiscal note. So that's our challenge, is to get the legislature to pass this when they know the fiscal impact. But most retirement bills cost a lot of money. We just have to make the priority retirees. I did have a chat with the retirement system actuary actually earlier this morning. And he just does fiscal notes for bills that affect retirement benefits in the employee's retirement system. So just the state employee system. And he said so far this year, he's done almost 150 fiscal notes. And they're still coming in. So he'll probably exceed 200 pieces of legislation that are asking for changes in the retirement benefits for some group of employees. So there's lots of competition out there. We have to make our case. We've had this in for a couple of years. Took a while to get it where it's doing what we want, and the retirement system agrees that that's it. They've worked with us on it. The controller won't endorse a bill or support it, but they've been very helpful in helping us draft the language and in working up the fiscal implications. So we've got a lot to thank them for, but now we've got our work cut out to justify why the money should be spent on retirees versus these 200 other interest groups.
Okay, thanks. Sharice, we have some questions in the chat about legislation. Would you ask them?
Yep. Ed, this was directed after your remarks. Is there a way we can calculate in dollars what the COLA bill would provide us individually?
That's to me or to Ed?
I'm sorry, it was
Yeah,
in the chat during Ed Farrell's remarks.
Okay.
Ed Brown had worked up a chart, an estimate. It varies depending on how long you've been retired, because it goes back 23 years. So the older you are, if you've been retired all those 23 years, the impact is higher. I don't have it in front of me. I think if you've been out 10 or 15 years, it gets up to $1,000. And then for the really older folks, you can hit $2,000 as an extra bonus. The way the bill is, once you get this COLA, even though it's a one-time calculation, you get it forever, because it becomes part of the base of your pension. And that's why it's so expensive, the number that Ed Brown alluded to. If you look at your statement that you get from the controller every year, it shows your base pension, and then it shows your COLA, which is added in. It's there. It never goes away. So it's a huge benefit. And once it happens, you'll get it every year forever.
Okay, thanks. Next question.
Another question, why can't we continue with our benefits once we are on Medicare? We are still paying for Empire, but things that Empire covered are not covered by Medicare, so Empire no longer covers it?
Let me make sure I understand the question. If you're in the Empire plan, your Medicare benefit does not go down. It stays the same. When you were in the Empire plan and you were under age 65, you were eligible for 120 days of skilled nursing care. Once you turn 65, that benefit goes away. And that's the only one we know of actually that goes away. And there's no rationale for it. So you're paying your same premium as you were when you were 64. They'll go up every year, of course. But you're getting this lesser benefit. And that's the argument we made with the legislature, and they agreed. Now we'll see if they fund it.
Next question relating to Bill S8388 regarding diminishment. But it is dated. Could we get clarification on whether it protects anyone before 2022? maybe that's something that Kevin can address if.
Yeah, the bill, that date is in the bill. So I'm not sure I understand what the question is. If you were cut, if you had reduced benefits 10 years ago, you would not be covered by this bill. So it's talking about people who have benefits now. If you were cut 10 years ago, this bill would not affect you.
Next question, how does the COLA bill presented even start to make up for the loss of income from skyrocketing health insurance premiums?
It doesn't. There's no correlation between the COLA and your health insurance premiums. Probably health insurance is one of the fastest rising components of anyone's budget, be you either an active person, an enrollee, or a retiree. The COLA, it's not designed to do that. And it's especially our catch up will help, but it will never, ever catch up to the increased costs of health insurance. And it was never designed to do that.
Next question, in your opinion, how does the IRMA issue look?
I would say I'm optimistic because the legislature has been supportive in the past, and we think they will again.
We had
when I
a meet. Want me to talk, Ed, too?
Sure.
We had a meeting with the Assembly Chair who's responsible for this, and we were assured that this was a non-starter. So, and historically, going back to Governor Cuomo, he tried this every year, and it was a non-starter. So, you know, one of the benefits we have here is that all of the legislators themselves will be retirees at one point. So they all understand the implications personally as well as going forward. So it's not a big lift. We have a new budget director who came out of the legislature. So it was almost like a dance that was designed every year. I think we're feeling pretty good about it. But, you know, it is the first tough budget year in a while. And there are some big numbers on the table, including school aid. But I think we're in pretty good shape here.
Okay, there are a couple of, I see a couple of other questions in the chat. What I'd like to do, Kevin, is Katie with you? Are you ready?
Katie, unfortunately, and I appreciate you accommodating us, got called to the governor's office on another thing, so you got me.
Believe me, it's not a hardship.
I'll do the best that I can.
No problem. So Kevin Cleary, everybody, is our lobbyist consultant. He and his associate, Katie, who unfortunately isn't with us, although it's very important that she goes to talk to the governor. They do a great job for us representing your interests before the legislature. So we asked Kevin if he would do a presentation on how to advocate for our issues with your local legislators. And I also see that Roanne DeStito, who was in the Assembly, now is on our board and shares our membership committee. She's with us. And I also see that Sandy Galiff, who was also in the Assembly, has joined us. So they might be able to add to this discussion because they have also, in addition to Kevin, firsthand information about how the process works and could have suggestions for us. So again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. And when Kevin finishes his presentation, we will ask as many as time will allow us. So Kevin, please go ahead.
Thanks, Diane. So, Diana, and I do think that if the former Assembly people could want to chime in, that would be helpful. I think, you know, part of our strategy is how do you get the word out to the legislators about issues that you're interested in. Obviously, there are some key people in the legislature that are working on these issues on a regular basis, as well as the professional staff, and we are trying to deal with them as regularly as we can. But it's always incredibly important for the members to reach out to their local legislators, either an in-person visit if that's feasible. It's become less prevalent, I would suspect. Given the public health emergency and everything, but we are trying to reestablish with the legislature in-person meetings to the extent possible. dealing with all of these issues on the television hasn't really worked as effectively as the ability to be in person. Once we identify issues like the skilled nursing problem with the Empire Plan, once you enroll in Medicare, the issue of IRMA being the IRMA subsidy being proposed to be cut by the governor this year. I mean, what we try to do is to get you as members as early a notice that this is going on as possible. We try to get you some written materials and some talking points to use in your conversations with your local legislators. In many cases, your local legislators know you because you've reached out on previous issues. And I would be interested in Sandy and Roanne's perspective, but it seems to me that if a constituent takes the time to reach out to their legislator, either through the mail or through an email or in person on an issue, I think that's taken incredibly seriously. I think it probably indicates that you're a likely voter. And as we know, not everybody votes. I think less than 50% of the people voted last time. So I think that what it not only communicates on the issue, but it also communicates that you're an active citizen and reaching out to people you've probably supported at the ballot box. So we try to get you what you need. If you need more from us, correspond with us, and we'll try to get you. If you get questions that you can't answer, we'd be glad to help you answer that. And also reach out if you've reached out to someone, and we'll try to follow up with them here in Albany as well to close the loop. But I think
Kevin?
yeah. Go ahead, bro.
Hi, this is Roanne DeStito. I'm here with my steering committee here in the Mohawk Valley chapter, so we're all listening and getting really good information. But I believe our legislative chair does not think that we give them enough information to go and speak with our legislators, and we can have in-person meetings. So maybe there could be a memo sent where all this information that we were just given, I think this town hall is a great idea. And I think everyone here is enjoying listening to all the information they're getting. But if we could get an email sent with all the information that you and Ed have talked about, I think it would help the legislative committee here. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right, Roanne. We certainly can do that. And I was going to ask Kevin or Roanne or Sandy to talk about what happens when somebody goes into their legislator's office to talk about a bill. Will they see the legislator? Will they see the staff? How much time will they have? What would the discussion be like? Give us some kind of inside the arena pointers on how those conversations go.
I'd be glad to comment, Sandy Galiff. And I'm glad to be part of this organization now that I've retired. I just want to say that you have had such a great involvement in Albany, I would say, with a lot of the issues that are presented to the Health Committee and others, with your active participation there. But let's talk, and it's really hard in Albany to get enough time with legislators. Everybody is so busy. You end up meeting with staff a lot, but that's okay as long as they talk to the legislators about it. But I really preferred, and I always told people, the best thing to do is to make an appointment in my office, and we can sit down and, I can give you a half an hour or whatever of conversation. And I think that's the best strategy. It's really kind of late at this moment. You might be able to do that. I think we need to get a list of people that are a part of this organization that live within, you know, the Hudson Valley or different legislative. Actually, you could put together membership by the legislative, the assembly or the Senate district, so you can have people go together, because that is a lot better. You don't want to have a conversation with 10 people calling to get a different appointment. That just doesn't work. So do it all together. I must say on IRMA, I hear a lot from NYSUT. When the teachers would come to my office, they were the ones that really informed me about that. So sometimes you can connect with other organizations that have similar things that they are working on, and that can be very effective. But and always, you know, emails are fine, phone calls are fine. I just think the personal dynamics are a lot better, and fortunately we're back into having meetings with real people. So that's my input.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate that. That's really helpful. So yeah, one thing you have to be prepared for is you're not, as Sandy said, you're not always going to see the legislator. Sometimes it's staff. This is budget time. The budget is due in April. So the closer we get there, the busier the legislators and staff will be. Sometimes, you know, they have to cancel at the last minute because there's just something else going on that they need to pay attention to, or a meeting they have to go to, or, you know, whatever the situation is. Don't be insulted. It has nothing to do with you. It's just that that's their schedule. Sandy's right about,
Diana,
I'm sorry.
Diana, I'll only add one statement to Sandy. Sandy did a great job. And Sandy was my classmate.
Hi,
But
Roanne.
hi, Sandy. So I would say that I always had more time in my district office than
Yes.
in the in the LOB, because the LOB you were like every 10-15 minutes you were meeting or being called out to do something else. So you know, you're in the district, your constituents, that's probably the best place to try to get an appointment. And I know that in my case, here in the Mohawk Valley, we always met with some of these groups, like retiree groups, with our counterpart in the Senate. Sometimes it would work out that we could meet, the Assembly and Senate could meet, Senator could meet together. So even offer that also. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you, Roanne. Appreciate.
Diane, I also think that, you know, a lot of lobbying now is going on, you know, that goes on in the Capitol, as Roanne indicated. It's a very busy time.
Right.
Tuesday, there was about 5,000 people in the Capitol. We're not the kind of group that's going to be sending buses of people to Albany
Right.
to sit on the steps and rally and jump up and down. That's not what we do. I think within the Capitol, we have reasonable and effective access to the decision makers, and we try to do that in time. Thursday and Fridays is good for us because we can go up there when the crowds have cleared and make our case effectively. So I do think from our perspective, the best compliment from our membership would really be in the local offices.
Yeah, yes, I agree. And every RPEA member is automatically enrolled in a chapter at no additional fee. It's included in your dues. So we will ask you to get involved in advocacy in one of two ways. Either we'll send out an alert that says, send a letter to your Assembly and Senate representatives or to your members of Congress about this issue, and here's what you're going to do. You don't actually have to go see them. We're saying call them, send them a letter. The chapters, some of the chapters are very active legislatively, and they will organize their chapter members to go and visit their local district offices. So if you aren't active in your chapter, even though you do get the chapter news, so if there's something coming, you'll get a news alert that they want to do a visit with a legislator. Please get involved in that, because what you have to keep in mind is, and we always say this, retirees and seniors vote. The legislators know that. They know that we're a very powerful voting bloc. They know that they can count on seniors to go to the polls and vote. So when you go to see a legislator and you're talking about how this is affecting seniors or affecting you as a retiree, they're going to listen because they know that you're a very important constituency. So anything else from Kevin, Roanne, or Sandy? Otherwise, we'll go to the questions. We have about 10 minutes left. We good?
I'll stop.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Sharice, would you ask what's left in the chat for questions?
Yep. So first question, who should I contact regarding a pension issue retired in 2020? But credit for saved vacation has not been added. When I call the pension system, they will not give in an estimate of these credits. I'm going on 4 years of retirement and need help with this. Who should I reach out to?
Yeah, I can answer that because I'm on the Controller's Pension Advisory Committee, and we just had a meeting the other week and this issue came up. They acknowledge that they don't have enough staff. Like any state agency, they don't have enough staff and they're way behind in doing the pension calculations. If you go onto the Controller's website, and you can sign up for, I forget what it's called, but you can create a password and a login and you can get into your account. There's a calculator on the Controller's website that lets you put in your parameters and to see how much you can expect in your pension. So you'll have an idea of what your pension will be. But they're trying the best they can to bring people in so they can take care of these pension calculations, and they just keep apologizing because they just don't have enough staff.
All right, next question. Does the IRMA reimbursement issue affect this year's reimbursement or next year's?
It's
It affects
immediate.
next
For the-
year's.
Next year's, yeah.
Thank you. Next question. The COLA fiscal note cost number seemed high unless I heard incorrectly. Is there a multi-year impact?
Yeah, Ed Brown?
Yeah, well, you probably heard right. It is high because it affects 400,000 of our members, and the average amount paid to each one of those 400,000 people is probably close to $2,000. Could be 3,500 for the people longtime retirees. It's about 1,000 for people that retired around 2015, it's 2000, if you retired 2010. So the longer you're retired, the more you get, but it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 for each member for their lifetimes. So all those numbers add up. And what it is, it's an annual cost that the retirement system calculates, but it's continued for your lifetimes. So this cost will go on for 10, 20, 30 years. So it is expensive, but we need it, and retirement benefits are expensive, and we're gonna keep trying to make the case that it's worthwhile. If we put it in terms of salaries that the state and participating employers pay out, we're looking at just a little over 1% of salary. I think the COLA is like 1.3% of salary for every public employer in the state, which again is a lot of money. But if you look at the pay raises that active employees have been getting, they get 3% or 4% or whatever it is, and that continues for life. So we're looking at a little over 1% of pay. So we'll just have to make the case.
Thanks. Next question?
How do we at Jefferson County possibly reach out to a legislator when we have been in court against them, represented by CSEA for over 2 years due to their reducing our contractual benefits?
Wait, say that again? Read that again?
Yep. How do we in Jefferson County reach out to our legislators when we have been in court against them, represented by CSEA for over 2 years due to their reducing our contractual benefits?
I
So-
think I know what that's
Oh.
referring to. One of the
Yeah, please. Go
one
ahead.
of the assembly members from Jefferson County used to be in the county legislature. So I think the question refers to when he was a county legislator, I think he was the chair. They apparently did something regarding benefits, but now he's a legislator, just move on past that. The issues we're talking about are retiree issues, not issues that related to a CSEA contract years ago.
Okay, thanks. Next question.
Who is eligible for IRMA and how do you apply?
You don't apply for IRMA. It's assessed against you based upon your income from 2 years ago. It's a surcharge. So the surcharge kicks in when you have an individual income of $103,000, and then it graduates beyond that. So you don't apply for it. They look at your income from 2 years ago and they assess the surcharge against you if you reach that point. If you're below 103,000, you're not affected.
Ed, the question might be, how do you apply for the reimbursement?
Yeah, I think that is the question. And normally I don't know if we've done it yet, but normally what we will do is send out a message to all of our members with a link to download the form to apply for IRMA if it applies to you. You can do it that way. You can also go onto the Department of Civil Services website and just, in the search box, just write, IRMA application or something like that, and it'll come up that way.
Let me just add.
Yeah, sure, please.
We have sent a
You
notice
just-
about
no.
it. If someone did not see it, just call the office. We'll send you the form.
Yeah, you did send it out. Yes.
Yeah.
Takes a
Great.
while.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question.
I'm a retiree who worked out of the New York Tax and Finance Chicago office. What chapter am I with and my fellow members here enrolled in?
Where do you,
Chapter 13.
you know what? Call the office on that one. It depends on where you live as to what chapter you're assigned to. So just give the office a call or send an email and you'll get an answer about which chapter you belong to. We're running out of time. That's why I'm trying to get through as many as possible. Sure. Next question.
Yep, and it looks like we have 2 more. Should we wait for new districts to be finalized before attempting to lobby? Right now, I live in a district in flux, so my current assemblyman has never sent our area any updates, so why lobby him?
Their districts.
Well, you want to lobby whoever is representing you now. We're dealing on issues this session. So whoever is in your area right now is who you should be talking to, because we're trying to get things done before June.
Ed, the assembly lines aren't in flux, it's the congressional lines, and they were resolved. So whoever you have now is who you're gonna have next year.
Right. Okay. Next question.
I'm a retiree with Empire who is now a Florida resident. Am I eligible for dental, vision, hearing, and the same medical benefits?
Candy, you still with us? Nope, she must have dropped off.
I can answer that.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Just call us. We'll be in touch with Candy. The providers she talked about, they're all across the country. So it goes by zip code. So we would find out if there are providers in your area.
Okay. Anything else in the chat?
That's it. The only other thing that was in there was regarding the skilled nursing. Someone just mentioned, is that age discrimination, which I know we've been using a lot of that language in our press releases and statements. But someone did type that in as well.
We think it is,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely. Absolutely.
And we've written to the civil service and the governor's office saying that that's what it constitutes, yes. The only question I saw in the chat that I would ask, Barbara Thomas said, what about diabetic supply? She wasn't asking about skilled nursing. Are you finding that your diabetic supply benefit went away when you enrolled in Medicare?
Some of them, yes.
Okay.
All right.
If you could send an email in, then we'll take a look at that, okay? But the only one that we've heard people complain about specifically is the dramatic change in the skilled nursing benefit when you enroll in Medicare, because you lose the state benefit. Roanne?
Okay.
Don't change.
Okay, it's 11:59. 30 seconds left for any last questions. Anything, Sharice?
Nope, someone did include in here, how do I contact Kevin Cleary if I have a question?
You know what?
Kevin at kevincleary.com.
Or actually, you know what? Contact Ed Farrell and he'll relay your question to Kevin, because if you have a question about something legislative, it's really helpful to us to know about it, to know
That's
what's
I
on your.
agree with that, Diane. Yeah.
Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We promised to get you out at 12. Thank you very much for your participation. I hope you found it useful and helpful. And we will do it again. So thanks to our presenters and thanks to Sharice and Ed, both Eds and Kevin, and Candy. And keep in touch and let us know what's on your mind. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.